Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick, your creativity and spiritual life coach and host of Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. What is the awakening? This is the moment in time when humanity rises up out of the darkness. Who is awakening? Each one of us present on earth today, reclaiming our sovereignty, seeking greater possibilities in our reality and looking for solutions. We know being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If we can transform ourselves, we can change the world. Guests on Her Conversations will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, soul. Listen to their stories and hear how they are in service to the world. Let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. Before going on into this week's episode with Atousa Raissyan, I just want to invite you to listen to Higher Energetic Resonance Inspirations, the sister podcast to Her Conversations. Those episodes are solo sharings from me as I explore and discuss different aspects of our creativity and spirituality. The direct link is in the show notes below. My guest this week is Atousa Raissyan, who, amongst many other things, is a shaman, transformational heart-centered healer, and spiritual guide and motivational speaker. Her book, Change Yourself, Change the World, Transform Your Life from Fear-Based Living to Choosing Love and Seeing Magic, has won, amongst other awards, the Nautilus International Book Awards of 2024. She has also just published a multi-author project, Activating the Divine Human. During our conversation, Atousa shares about the birth of her new project, the process of choosing the collaborators, managing the many aspects of the project, and supporting the creators. So as always, I begin by asking my guest, HER is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel that higher energetic resonance?
I think every day. I want to answer every day. It's all the time. Yeah, even if there are emotions that are sort of we call lower vibration, I'm able to step out of it and be present.
Thank you. And I know you're a returning guest, but I do still, if anyone is just catching you for the first time, give you a moment, Atousa, just to share a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and what's been happening recently for you also.
Hi, everyone. My name is Atousa Raissyan. I carry many titles, shaman, healer, author, poet, artist, but it all comes down to life alchemist, and it comes down to the passion I have for helping people discover the truth in themselves and let go of their identities, let go of the fears, let go of the stories that they're carrying, so that they can really start to first reprogram the mind and then let go of the mind completely and fall back in their place of truth and place of knowing. And right now, the great things that has happened that I'm excited about. My first book that came out in August of last year, Change Yourself, Change the World, has won about 4 different awards in different categories. And it has been well received with the readers. They've left reviews online and also reach out to me like how it's helped them. They carry it, they go back to it. And that book is available in ebook and paperback, but also now soon it'll be available as an audiobook, which I'm really excited. I'm the one that's narrating it. And the next book that's already out is Activating Your Divine Human, which is a multi-author book that I have published. I'm also one of the authors in there, and all the cover design and artwork is mine. And I'm excited about that. It's first time I'm actually publishing a book. And the other part, two other things I'm excited about is that I've taken the information that I provided in Change Yourself, Change the World, and the new book, and this whole concept of letting go of the fears and identities and finding that truth in yourself, into a coursework that it'll have like a 2-hour live monthly sort of interactive course that I'm going to be providing. And then also as part of that, I'll have a membership group that people can, ask me questions, and I'll go in there once in a while, post things. And yeah, that's about it.
So you haven't been idle for the whole year. Pardon me, there's so many things that we can touch on. As I was getting things together and just thinking about our conversation and what we could have, there's different ways and different things that I want to ask you about. But one phrase that came up to me that I scribbled down really quickly was collective creativity. And I just felt that, especially with the book and doing this multi-author project, that it was like how powerful that is, that idea of collective creativity, where you have so many different voices and experiences and perspectives, then pour into this one thing and give it that energy. So looking at that as, that collective creativity project and that expression of collective creativity, did you notice anything different in the way that expressed itself in as opposed to when you were doing your solo project?
It is very different, and I love the word you use, collective creativity, because we are being creative in how we're creating our life stories here in these physical forms. And all those experiences now coming together as individuals, but in one place, putting all that information. And again, my goal for this book was different because I've been part of multi-author books before, and I felt there were things that I wanted to experience that I didn't get out of those multi-authors, which is why I started this project and I did it differently. And it was the collective part of it that was missing. I felt that I brought this together. And in order to do that, I had to invite people in. It wasn't that I went out and said, who wants to join me, like put it out in public, but I invited who I thought would be good for this project and would blend together. And then from there, writing your story, it's a very healing process. And it's a very triggering process. So again, having all these different groups, different people that I'm trying to bring into a group and have them really connect, to feel the safety and be vulnerable with each other, took a lot of time and space, and me holding space for everyone to be able to do that. So those were, I think, all the differences, and it resulted in, there were times like people wanted to quit. They were like, I don't think I want to do this. This is like, because it is scary. You're putting your whole trauma, your experiences out there. And these are things that you don't want people to know or see about you. And so a lot of times I had to bring people back together and, it's like do one-on-one with them to get them comfortable again, to write their stories, to share their stories. And I would ask help within the group that I knew there were more sort of stable people in terms of their energy and what they're expressing. I'm like, okay, can you come and be support for her until she gets through this part of the writing? And it worked out. And we pushed out dates. I said, I explained to everybody, I said, this is a ship. I'm the captain, but you guys are the crew, and we're not going to leave anyone behind. We're not going to let anybody jump ship. We're going to get this ship to the destination. And if we have to slow it down, we're going to slow it down. If we have to stop it to make sure everybody stays in the ship, we will do whatever it takes. But we're all going to get there together. And I think those were the challenges and the different things that I did with this book.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So many questions coming at this time as well, but especially when you were talking about the fact that when you're sharing your story, how confronting it is, because all of your stuff comes up. As I've spoken to you, that I've been working on my own, and I've had, I could have finished this months ago, to be honest, but there've been moments of pauses and moments of stuckness where I've been overthinking things, or I've been kind of going into the future about, if so and so reads this, they'll see that, and I really see how that was just me seeing that I was going to now be very well, it's never definitive because we always evolve and there'll be further works in the future, but it's like the most it will be the most kind of collection or collective piece of a definitive way of someone can sit down for a couple of hours and really get inside of my philosophy and what I stand for and what I've been through, and that will be there, even if there'll be subsequent versions of that as I go forward. And whereas before I've written songs where I've kind of used imagery, so it kind of like, well, it kind of relates to something, but the story is woven in there and there's music, so no one's really kind of, they either get swept away with the music or they kind of interpret the lyrics in a way that suits them, so it's very personal. Whereas when it's a book, it's literally what happened and my experience, and then also what I believe. And I could see it wasn't just about not having the things to write, because trust me, I've been making notes and just continually making notes and continually having new ideas of like what else can be included. I know I need to come to a pause on that also as well, because there's this never ending tweaking that can happen sometimes, and there needs to be a line drawn. But I definitely saw within myself where I'm like, okay, what's this really about? And it was that part going, once this goes out, then there it is. And it was just me kind of going back and really like soothing that part of myself that was to an extent, feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the idea that I would have something out there that people would take and interpret at any point in time, and then come back and go, well, on page, you said this, what do you mean by that? And having to either explain or stand by, or even then gently talk about the fact that I've moved on past that point. But I'm through that now as well, and this month has been really productive and really focused and just kind of getting through that. But it was interesting to know that you saw that and had to hold that for so many, but then with that collective creativity, we're able to be really supportive back to each of them and also guide them through it. Because the thing is, once you've done it, and it's always the things that we overthink, once we put them out there and you're like, oh, I'm not dead, and also realizing that the more vulnerable that you can be is actually the more connected people feel to you, because you actually open into a part that everyone really wants to hear or have their version of their own vulnerable sharing heard, whether they're putting a book out or whether they're just talking to the people within their own life. So that's what it was kind of reflecting back to me as well. And the fact that you had that supportive structure within the way that you did that, was that something that you did because you didn't experience that in other multi-author experiences?
I didn't. I don't know, for whatever reason, it just did not happen naturally in those other groups, for whatever reason. But this time, because that was my goal from the beginning, and that took getting everybody on the same page at the beginning of this, which meant I invited the people. So they said yes. It wasn't like, oh, do you want to do this? And everybody's coming here because they want to do it as a business or it's good for their business. This is me telling them, hey, I know your story, because a lot of the people, I knew they had a story already. And I said, you have a story, and I think it's time to share it. And so I reached out to 16 people, and out of that, 11 people said yes and stayed. And then from there, again, a lot of the multi-author books, the cover design is already out there, the title, everything is out there already. It's pre-designed. This time I said, no, we're doing this together because but that was part of bringing everybody together. They had a voice in this. And when you have a voice, and you're standing together deciding, it brings you together naturally. So the title was decided together. The cover art decided together. And again, it took a lot more time and effort on my part to do it, but I knew that was what was needed to bring us together into that creative collectiveness that you're talking about. Because again, this is part of what we're putting ourselves in there, part of that energy. And so my experience was different. Everything was already set, and I just went and wrote the chapter. And also the other part, I think I did intentionally different that I didn't get to experience, is that allowing them to express it the way they want. Whether you want to do it in, 2 pages, 3 pages, or whether you want to do it in 30 pages. It doesn't matter. It is your story and how you feel comfortable right now presenting that story. So, yeah.
Thank you. And with that as well, talk about the title. Like, how did you arrive at the title and knowing that was right? Was it when you looked at everyone else's submissions and felt, okay, this is the common thread between all of them? What got you to the title?
The title, so actually when I finished my own book, Change Yourself, Change the World, I already had started writing my next book, or what I at that point was called, okay, I have a chapter in place. And then from that, I was like, okay, I see that this is about embracing our shadows and lights. It's not about separation, it's bringing together. And then, so I had an idea of that, and I had an idea of the title, but again, I wanted them to come and decide on that as well. So when we got the group together, that was when I gave them some ideas of, this is what I'm thinking for the title. What do you guys think? And we did some back and forth a little bit on the wordings and, different ways we would say it. And then whatever the majority voted, that was what was there. But yeah, no, the title, I had an idea of it before the book got started.
What does that mean to you, activating the divine human?
To me, is understanding that this human physical form is always changing, it's not permanent. And it is going through an experience. And activating the divine human is that understanding, bringing together sort of that, call it the divine self, God self, I am, whatever you call the higher consciousness, there is that part. And that's the part that's not changing. That's the part that is eternal, and bringing that and understanding that that's present, and also there's a human experience. And let's not get into these stories and sort of identities and roles that we've created in our lives and thinking that's real, because that's not real. If it's changing, if it's not here, it's moving, it's not a present, it's not still. And finding that stillness that's always there.
How did you go about I know you said you spoke to each woman individually. How did you manage their vulnerability? Was there ever a time where um, the ego was kind of coming up? And the reason I say this is because having done many collaborations before when I was working as a musician. So, when you have more than one creative in the space, sometimes it can become challenging. And especially when you're working to a good level as well, that people know they're good, when everyone in the room knows they're good, when everyone knows they're genius, and we're all operating at our genius, sometimes there can be a point where it just becomes well, the experience that I had anyway, experiences that I had, sometimes it would be a real, like, this is the right note, this is the right chord, when it really started to bring out some things that sometimes, I suppose, what you would expect the temperamental artist to be, when they really want to get their point of expression through, and they're unable, it seems, to compromise, or they feel that in compromising there's some loss on their part. I'm just like, I'm having flashbacks of moments and there would be just so many creative, bands that I was in, groups that I was with, moments in the studio where it would get so heated because people are so passionate about what they can bring. And especially in music, where we're starting with silence, or with any creative endeavor where you're starting with a vacuum, and you're putting something into that vacuum, and you want your expression to be the one. And sometimes what happens is, like, if you feel, if you don't have that point in everything else, it's almost like feeling that it's wrong. Honestly, I'm having flashbacks of such instances where it was just like, even making music together, trying to get a chord, deciding what note we were going to play, things could get really, 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 to the verge of violent, but very rageful, where everyone's coming in, and there were many times I stepped back from situations just because there were things that were not able to be heard. And I'm not saying that I was there the humble conceder, by no means. There were many times that I thought I was right and I kind of go for it. But it's that element of passion. It's like, how, if you experienced that, did you kind of manage that? Or if not in that situation, if you've experienced that, have you managed that?
A little bit different. So the cover art, so I had a designer, a graphic designer, to do the art because I knew it was going to take a long time. And I was like, okay, I cannot just put that much time into it. Mm. And then he quit. He's like early on, because I kept, like, before even, like, I gave it to the group, I was trying to explain the concept of the book and what it is. And he would come up with these images. I'm like, no, that's not it. And I would give him, like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I need. And he's like, he would come up like, and he wouldn't get it. And I said, okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead and do it. And then when I started doing it, he's like, okay, then if you're doing it, you don't need me. He quit. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Now it's on me. So then I had to be the artist, that I'm giving actually my art. When I do my art, I just do the way it feels good to me and I put it out there. But now I had to give my art for people to say what they like and don't like about it and change it. So that was a little bit challenging for me in terms of time management, more than anything. Like, why are you telling me to change this? It was like, I just want this done. There's so much work to do. I have a lot of work to do. Can we all agree on this so I can move on and get to the other side? But then I would bring myself back and reminding myself that this cover art needs to be the collective energy. So let's take a break. Everything's going to come together in the right time, in the right moment. You have plenty of time to get things done. So now let's center back and, feel everything and go from there. So the art was, in a way, what you were talking about, the cover art. And we did. I think once I finished it, every single person was happy about it. Everyone that said, yeah, I love this cover. And because they were part of it now.
Mm.
And the other part, I think it was different from what you experienced, is because everybody, their individual stories. So nobody can say, well, it has to match mine. But what did happen was that as people were reading each other's stories, they were getting triggered because they're like, well, is my story good enough? Look at what they're sharing. Is mine better or worse? So it was that kind of measurement that I had to, again, hold space and say, your story is your story. You got to do you in this. This is not about you matching someone else. It's not being like anybody else. Whoever comes reads your story, it's for a purpose, and they're going to connect with it. And whoever reads the other story, they're going to connect with that. The two is not the same. And had to bring them back like that.
This is so fascinating. Because I think one of the things that has always and will always interest me is the things that I'm interested in. When I was interested in music or films or anything like that, I'd enjoy the finished product. But what would always fascinate me more was the making of it. And all of the things that would have to come together in order to have, a product, a piece, something that people can then take away and enjoy at the end of the day. But it's always the things that, all the little bits that people never really consider unless I suppose you're creative, or whether you're thinking of creating something collaborative in the future, and all the things that can happen, and all of the things it brings up for each of us as well when we're doing, because like you're saying, then when you're together, there's that comparison of, I don't want mine to be the story that people skips over, like an album, and so there's always a song that people don't play. Like especially
Yes.
now. Well, now we've got MP3, but I remember the days when suddenly we had CDs, so you didn't have to fast forward through the song you didn't like, you just skipped over.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to listen to the one that you felt wasn't right for you. But then in using that same kind of storytelling, then I'd talk to friends about different albums, and we'd always find that we all love different songs. So there was never really a dud song on an album. It was always the one that you liked, and then your friend would be, oh, I really like this. You'd be like, yeah, why? But then they'd speak about it with as much passion about as you would speak about the one that touched you. And it would be then, is there ever any a weak point? No, there's just, like you say, a different perspective and a different way of expressing it that may not to your ear, because you're just coming from your point of view, match up, but then there's someone else to whom that is everything. So yeah, it's interesting to know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an energy shift. So the song that you like and listen to, you've connected with it. It's because you're at that point in time, that's what you need. That's doing something for you. It's an energetical connection. And then when you are sort of shifted or moved and changed energy, you might go back to that same song. It's like, you know what? That's not quite the same anymore. I don't like it the same. And another song hits you the same way. So that's the change. I mean, it's funny, like, I certainly, there are times that I've had songs that I love, and now, like, I listen back, it's like, yeah, no, it's not, it doesn't have the same feel. And even with my book, people tell me, like, hey, every time they read it, they get something new. Because when you read it, you're in one place and you're catching different points, and then now you've shifted and you read it again. It's like, oh, I didn't see this. I didn't remember this. This is a new point I'm getting.
I like that. And what about time? Because and I'm saying this lovingly, and lovingly one as someone who has Jamaican heritage, and Jamaicans are notoriously just late. You know, we talk about Jamaican time, right? But something as well, especially when I used to do a lot of websites and graphics and everything like that. And in particular, I would work with women in the spirituality niche as well, who are not necessarily known for wanting to like stick to time and deadlines and stuff like that, or make like immediate decisions, you know, because they needed to go and feel into it and take their time and everything, which I understood, but it wasn't helpful for the project in its just kind of getting things moving, you know, because even though we're kind of working with and we're really open to our spirit, which sometimes moves beyond the constraints of the time, you know, what we use and count as time, you know, we're existing in the world, so we have to play the game, you know, we have to play the time game. So that's one of the things that I used to really have to have a conversation in and kind of get into the real kind of the left brain logical timekeeper when someone wanted to go and feel into it. I'm like, okay, but can we feel into it like before next week? You know, we
Yeah.
like, let's not take, you know, we know things happen in their time, but we also know that sometimes we need to kind of get things moving in order for them not to just kind of float away into infinity. How did you manage time, especially like I said, with spiritual people? They don't want to kind of hold themselves to the restraint and the kind of the stiffness of time, as it were.
Um, so time was funny because definitely there were times we were on Jamaican time. I know about Jamaican time. We were on Jamaican time. And the point was, like I said at the beginning, it was about getting everybody to be able to write their stories. And I said, I'm going to push out the publication date until I know everybody's on board. So that part of it was a little bit, you know, fluid. I gave deadlines, but I moved deadlines. It wasn't like, oh, give it to me whenever. So I would set deadlines, but then I would keep wiggling it until everybody made it in. And one of those people had to be myself because I had a ruptured Achilles during this project, which meant surgery, which meant I was pretty much like laid up for several weeks that I couldn't even sit with a computer even. So I'm like, guys, now it's on me that we got to delay this because I got to actually get to the point to be able to be in front of my computer. But then once all that passed and everybody gave their stories, then it was easier to manage time. Like I set deadlines and everybody was on point getting to the deadlines because it wasn't anything that they had to feel anymore. Once the story was done and into the hand of the editor, it was like, okay, you're done. And I told him, I said, at this point, you can't make any more changes. I don't care. You like your story. You've let it go and we're done. And a lot of people was like, oh, I'm like, nope, we're done. You can do it on your own time. You want to go change it. It's not going to make it in the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, once that hit, then everybody was on time and it was easier to manage.
And what do you hope the reader gains from the book?
The way I want them to feel, first of all, every story is different. A lot of people, like, with the exception, I think, my story, because my story is not really my story. I'm providing a guidance on how to activate the divine in you or connect with that part. But then everybody else's story, to me, they're talking about how they're embracing their shadow and light, what's happened to them. And those were like all the shadow parts. And now how they found that light and how they're bringing that together so that they're more stepping into their divine part rather than the human part and finding that peace within themselves. And so for the readers, I want them to feel and connect. Everybody has trauma, everybody has past, everybody has stories. And now, how do you go beyond that? How do you see that, yes, you can also live a life of joy, live a life of peace, and have that joy and peace within you, no matter outside this experience might be, humbling you, you can still find that joy and peace inside.
And I'm fascinated to know, what has this project and completing this project, how's it transformed you? What has it shown you about yourself?
About myself, interesting. I don't think it was a discovery. I think for one thing that, again, I was like, wow, I keep coming up with things to do, and everybody's like, that's why I said at the beginning, I wear many titles, because it's like whatever feels good to me, I go do it. And I don't think about how does it fit into my sort of branding of things. And this was another one of those things that now everybody's like, so you're a publisher now? I'm like, I don't know. Like, yeah, okay, if I'm definitely, my next book, I'm publishing it myself, but am I a publisher? I don't know. Sure, if people want me to publish their book and help them, I mean, I'm providing that as a service, but what does that really mean? I'm a publisher. I'm many things, depending on when you catch me. I'm to the person that's coming for individual session, I'm their healer, shaman, whatever. For the person that's coming to me for guidance, I'm their spiritual guide. For the person that loves my poetry and my book, I'm their author and poet. The one that has my art, I'm the artist. So why do I need to put it all in a brand? And I think this sort of solidified that I'm fluid, not this solid thing that has to be a certain thing all the time.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of having multiple things and multiple things happen, and because it feels then that you don't have to deny any part of yourself, because you're that, and everyone's defined or defining you and meeting you as that thing. Like you say, you're so many different, I mean, we play different roles anyway. Even if we're not putting anything out creatively, people will see us as, daughter, mother, wife, partner. Some will love us, some not so much, so it's just in being in yourself, how your own truth or your own expression, or you just existing, can create so many different parts of how you can show up and how you can actually kind of transform and inspire and communicate with so many different ways. I mean, that's one thing that I notice as well with the podcast, is that I always manage to find the questions that I need to find. And, I like to meet everyone beforehand and get an idea of who they are and anything. But then I do that so that I can, think about it and meditate on it as well. Just, where are we going to go with this? What am I going to say? And just be as much in the moment when I'm having the conversations. And like, some may go, well, no, it's not the way that you do a podcast. Like, that's the way that I do it. I want there to be that one. That's why I always want to have that like brief conversation beforehand. So I've just got an element of, we connect as as best as we can over the technology, to see who this person is, or to also see to the extent that they're open as well. Because one thing I notice is, people will say, I'll meet them and we'll agree to do an interview, but then comes the time, and there can be a number of reasons why that happens. They don't necessarily open up when the red light is on. She said, checking that the red light is on. But when the red light is on, and then the conversation, I'll come away and go, oh, that was a surprise to me, because I really felt that there was room to go. based on, you know, maybe sometimes it's based on what they give me in, or what they showed me in the original meeting, and what I kind of see that they're sharing online, you know, in websites or social media and things like that. So it's interesting as well, because also it shows me me. It's like, oh, I can have multiple conversations. I'm not just one person. There is a way that I have some level of knowing to be able to have a conversation with somebody in the field that they do, even if I don't know so much about it. And you know, I suppose this is my multi-author expression, is the podcast, is having the conversations with all those different women, because there are some men as well. It doesn't just showcase them, and I really want to always find out and learn from the guests, but it also shows me a part of me and a level of understanding that I didn't realize that I would have until I have a conversation and listen and wait for the next question as, you know, they're speaking. And it's a real interesting part to be on this side of things as well. You know,
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what you're doing is very creative, and you gotta, you know, you meet all these different people, and then right there, you gotta, you know, work with them and have it be presented out there. So definitely. And, you know, I always say, for me, I'm a marketing nightmare. Like, you know, because marketing people, they always want to say, well, you got to narrow it down. I'm like, no, I don't narrow it down. Well, can you not talk about this? No, I won't. Like, anything that comes, like, well, this is me. You can't just say, well, can you take this part out? It's like, no, I can't take that part out. It's me still.
I mean, showing up online as well, like how is that for you? How do you feel about it? Because I know there's some people that embrace it, love the opportunity to have a platform to share and to show, and to then, you know, meet people from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, that will come into your world, and also you know, offer you opportunities as well, because that's something that's come from me. And then there are others that are just like, no, can't do it, you know. How do you approach that? How do you feel about how you share, and what's your relationship with the mediums that you use to share your work?
First of all, I love speaking, like on podcasts, on any chance I get. You know, right now I'm trying to get more, you know, not online public speaking engagements, but more in a setting that there are multiple people and live. So that's my goal, and I'm putting it out there. Hopefully I'll get more paid speaking engagements, but I love it. I love talking about the work I do. I love, actually, it's not even talking about the work I do, but getting into the situations where when I'm talking, I can get them to see that aha in themselves. Like, I get it. Okay. Now, like, I see them, like, now I'm going to shift. Now I see it. So that's what I love. I love talking. Social media, I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. It's not that I don't like to put myself out there. It's more of, because I don't like the posts, people put posts, and there's this big write-up. I don't read any of it. I'm like, too much. Like, if I want to read, I'm like, I like to hold things in my hand and read it. Like, even long emails, I'm like, oh my God, I can't go through this email. Let me zoom it out and like read it. So social media, I'm still trying to figure out, and I post what feels good whenever it feels good, and I've left it as that. And until a point I find a way that I can put more out there easily, that's the way I deal with it. But speaking, I love it. Any opportunity I get, anybody that wants me on their podcast or summits or workshop, I'm like, yep, I'll do it. I don't care about how big their platform is. I've done podcasts that are very popular, and I've gotten on podcasts that they're just starting out. To me, I don't care, because I look at it as a way that you guys are doing so much to put this out there, and whoever needs it will get it and will listen to it. So
Yeah. And you never know who's listening from
Yeah.
where or when, you never know who is just tuning into you and just observing and just taking note, and I know what you say about the long posts. It depends how you feel. I mean, because I don't blog anymore. I don't blog on my website, but for many years, about 3 or 4 years, I used to blog twice a week on my website and then kind of put it on social media. And then when I started the podcast, I stopped blogging. But I missed that writing, and writing and just putting it out there. Because it became journals, which is now I'm like going through these journals going, there's like goal and like, just moments of like real insight there that help me, which is why now, um, I like having the podcast, but also I too as well am really exploring the public speaking space as well, because I find that really a new challenge for me, a new expression, because even though I came from a performance point of view and singing, and so not having a major concern of being in front of people, there's still something that's very different about speaking in public, and it's like a new discipline, and it's something to really master as well. And whether you then speak online or speak in public, then just kind of honing that ability. So it's something that I've been actively working on for the past year as well, and I've really enjoyed that journey within myself and seeing how that's changed me, and kind of being like, okay, I can see how this can go. And the again, putting it out there, mine is I want to travel again. I haven't been traveling really for the past couple of years. Everything slowed down,
Hmm.
and then I went up to Portugal once for a few days. But I'm like, I want to travel again, but also I want to travel and work at the same time, and work in the work that I want to do. Because before I was kind of traveling and still doing websites, which is, it was good. But now, because my work has changed so much, I want this to be what I move with, and this to be how I meet and talk to people, and small groups, women's circles. When I was out in Bali, I was doing a lot of women's circles there, or closing retreats and everything like that. So I like the idea of just sitting with 4 people, as well as the idea of just sitting and standing on a stage in front of a room full of people and trying to bring the message out there as well. So um, I'm with you on that. I see that for us, and also because I rarely get to meet anyone in person. It would be beautiful one day
Yeah.
to be in the same physical space as you, and
Yes.
be like, we made it. Yeah. I think of
Yes.
women that I've interviewed, it's been less than 10 that I've met in person. So
No, let's put it out there. To meet in
mm,
person, we'll do a speaking together.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, what kind of things do you have in your mind for the future of you? What kind of things are you feeling, you kind of seeing in the distance for yourself? And then you're talking about the membership, which I think is great, and the course. Yeah.
Yes, the course is one of the things I'm excited about, and I hope it picks up because, like I said, I find a lot of times the one-on-one work is one thing, but again, seeing again, people say the book has helped them. And so now taking that concept, okay, come a little bit deeper. Let's dive into this a little deeper. Let me open it up more for you so that you can connect to that I am part divine, part God self, whatever you want to call it. So I'm excited about that. And I hope that takes the speaking engagements we already mentioned, but something that like, I think it's been probably 7, 8 years now that I've envisioned and I feel like now it's coming together a little bit more is having my own center where it's not a center like it's just a place, but it's a more like a place that like a hotel resort that people can come and stay, but also a place that it's eco-friendly. We there's a little farm that we get the food and make it for the people that visit. It's a retreat place that not only I'll do my retreats, but other people can come do their retreats, workshops, but also inviting. I know there's so many people that start out, starting artists, or they're starting out as healers, whatever, and they're not sure about themselves, I want to give them space. Hey, come practice here. Come put your art here. And also during my time, I found a lot of people, my clients that came to me, there were times that they just needed a space to be and feel like that space is healing them. And there has been few times that I've led like, okay, why don't you just come here, I have an extra room, stay here for a couple of days and ground yourself. Because sometimes they don't have the money to travel at that point or go to a hotel. And so this place would provide that for them if they have the money. And if not, then okay, you come and stay and work for your stay here. So yeah, that's my vision.
Yeah. And may unfold for you. I wish that for you as well. I just love hearing about people's dreams. I really do. It just kind of ignites. You see people come alive when they start to talk about where their creativity and what they want to put into the world. And we need that excitement and that hope right now that reminds us that, within us, the spark of evolution is there. Everybody wants it. And I saw there's a little thing I saw on social media this morning where there was this guy saying, why do bad things kind of pop up to us? Why is it the traumatic things that we remember so much? And he was saying because the good's around us all the time, 24/7, it's always there. It's always there to the point that we tune it out like white noise. So we don't take notice of the good because the good's there all the time. So then when bad pops up, then it's like, oh, bad thing, and we really have that memory of the bad because we're so supported by the good that we forget. So, it's reminding that the good is there at all times as well. So great hearing from you. Great talking to you again and just seeing your evolution just in such a short time since our last conversation. Can you share where everyone can find you and also if there's anything else that you want to put out there?
They can find the best place is my website, which is my first name, last name.com. That has all my social media on there, information about the books, the services I do. And, if you want to pop in there and say hello, text me, email me, go on my social media and DM me. I would love to hear from people. I'm always happy when they say, oh, I heard that, talk on this so-and-so's podcast, or, oh, I read this. And so I'm always excited to meet new people that way. So please go ahead and look me up and say hello.
Thank you again. Fascinating conversation as always.
Thank you. I always love our conversation. I feel like we can sit here and chat for so long. And I really do hope we meet in person because it'll be so exciting to just be in your presence. Yeah, exactly.
A real hug. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Atousa, for sharing your wisdom with me, and thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share the episode with somebody you feel would benefit from the wisdom within. You can find out more about me on my website. It's carolmaywhittick.com, carolmaywhittick.com. Find me on LinkedIn and Facebook under Carol May Whittick, and Instagram, Casmic, CAZMICK. Until the next episode, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.